Do you know how rare I find that a headphone sounds inspiring or truly high-end or truly redefines what I'm expecting from a headphone? Today's video will focus on HIFIMAN HE1000 V2 or the second version, and it is going to explore why this headphone is actually a really interesting one in today's market. So I hope it will be fun. As always, when reviewing HIFIMAN headphones, the package isn't the most important aspect. They don't come with a carrying case, they don't come with a lot of extras, but they do come with 3 cables. One single-ended with a 3.5mm jack, one single-ended with a 6.35mm jack, and one ballast with an XLR jack. And I'm using an aftermarket cable. This is actually a cable I got as a present from a friend. It is not a commercial cable, but it works quite well for the HIFIMAN HE1000 V2 or the second version. I'm using this cable because I'm using a balanced connector to be able to power from music players such as the iBasso DX320. This is the best source I found for them. It simply drives them the best. It has the best overall resolution, the best overall power, and the best overall refinement and control over the HE1000 SA. It sounds better than the Cyrus One Cast even if I'm using adapters, so in the end I'm using this. This is also convenient because I'm able to take those bad boys outdoors and I'm able to enjoy them. When you think of a high-end headphone, you should have some price expectations. Those headphones have been released at a $3,000 price point, but nowadays they can be found at $2,000, even on Amazon and on HIFIMAN's official website. So what is interesting about them? Well, the first interesting thing is the build quality. The build quality of the HE1000 is quite different from the build quality of Raya Stealth and every other HIFIMAN headphone I've tested today. First off, the headband is now made of metal. It feels better in hand. It is more resistant to scratches. The headphone adjusting mechanism also clicks much more securely in place. They have a much better cup adjustment and cup support mechanism. The headphones swivel in every single direction imaginable. As you can see, you aren't going to have any comfort issues with them. And that is also because they have huge, and I mean huge cups. Just look at this. It is so large. The cups are also quite deep and you have a very thick padding. You know, it's normal for them to have a bit of dust and a bit of debris after me using them daily, every single day since receiving them. I am truly in love with those headphones. They just sound so nice. The sound is the reason why you should get them. So the build quality is very good. It is still not quite as good looking or as interesting as other headphones that I reviewed on the channel, but it looks quite good. I like the aesthetic. They have this wooden like pattern here. They have a silvery color for the outer parts, and they have everything done so that they can sound better. This is the point with the HE1000 V2. While wearing them, they look quite nice. I mean, I am going like this outdoors. I am going like this on the street in Romania, but I don't think everyone will be comfortable wearing something like this outdoors. It's a bit much. It's like a very desktop headphone. It is not made for outdoor usage. They don't isolate at all from the outside noise. They are really transparent. You will hear absolutely everything, and they leak quite a bit. So they aren't good if you need a closed back headphone. It is a very open back headphone. And this has been a big point in their design. HIFIMAN designed those so that the ear cups, so these parts, are as transparent as possible, and the magnets are as transparent as possible too. The magnets are arranged in such a way that there are as few reflections as possible coming from the back of the driver to the cup and then reflecting back into your ear. Also, they have used the thinnest driver membrane available to date, which is only a nanometer thick. To drive the HIFIMAN HE1000 version 2, you need so much juice. Those are incredibly hard to drive. You wouldn't expect a headphone to be so hard to drive. They are so hard to drive that only the iBasso DX320 is able to really drive them. And this is a magical music player. I enjoy it so much, and it has been such a pleasant experience that this pairing is my dream pair. Like, if you can get this pairing like this, go for it. It is going to satisfy your audiophile needs. Of course, that isn't quite true for everyone. It really depends on what your taste is and what your needs are. This pair of HIFIMAN headphones is one of the most open sounding headphones I've heard to date. They rely so much on having an expansive soundstage, but at the same time they have a very clean, a very deep and a rumbly bass. They have a very beautiful bass with a ton of punchiness, with a ton of thickness and with a ton of impact. The bass is absolutely surprising. Usually HIFIMAN headphones either focus on a very mid-centric sound or a very bright sound, and the HE1000 has a slightly bright tonality, which means that there is a bit more treble and a bit more upper mid-range than there is lower mid-range and the bass. But the bass is beautiful. I can enjoy EDM, electronic, rap music. I can enjoy basically anything that I typically enjoy, but they make it fun. The bass isn't the quickest out there, which is a surprise because I was expecting the bass to be extremely quick. It is a natural, a lush and a pleasing bass, very musical presentation. The mid-range though, the mid-range is extremely quick, extremely detailed, and I mean extremely detailed. You don't expect this. There is a very small difference between the HE1000 version 2 and Audeze LCD5 in terms of raw resolution. I could say that if I didn't have the money to buy an LCD5, I would go for the HE1000 version 2. I would purchase this instead of the LCD5. Also, if you needed a headphone that is a bit lighter, they are pretty light at about 420 grams, if I'm not mistaken. And the general comfort is simply better than Audeze LCD5. They also have a more generic cable. They have 3.5mm TR-AS single-ended connectors at the cup level, so you are going to find the replacement cable quite easily, which is important because with a headphone that used to cost $3,000 and now costs $2,000, you will have some cash for a cable upgrade. Actually, purchasing those and I based on the X320 is still less expensive than purchasing the Audeze LCD5 alone, which may play a role in deciding whether you want to get the HE1000 version 2 or not. I always get this question, how do they compare to HIFIMAN Araya Stealth? Well, first off, Araya Stealth is actually a bit darker and has a bit more lower mid-range and upper bass than the HE1000 version 2. Those ones are brighter, they have more upper mid-range and lower treble. They also have a better treble extension with more air and more cymbal sparkle. For example, when you listen to rock and when you listen to metal, you can notice considerably more micro details and more details. And the HE1000 SA is harder to drive than the Araya Stealth. The Araya Stealth is easier to drive. I do think that if you are looking for a headphone that can do everything in a wider manner, then the HE1000 version 2 is going to be better. Araya Stealth is better if you like a darker, smoother and heavier sounding headphone. Those ones aren't quite as dark and as heavy and as smooth as Araya Stealth. They are more detailed though. The resolution is just incredible. They also have asymmetric headbands. It is thinner at the front and thicker at the back to follow the shape of your head more closely so that you have better sealing and better comfort with them. I can say that it is working quite well for me. And in general, they just sound open, they just sound holographic. The instrument separation is outstanding. You just hear every single instrument. And this is a huge difference between them and other headphones, even around the $3,000 price point. For example, they outdo the Kenneth Control heavily when it comes to detail, resolution, bass impact, and dynamics in general. The sound of HE1000 version 2 is more detailed, more clean, more clear than pretty much every single other headphone I've tested to date. They are incredible with dynamics, with impact, with punchiness. Everything just sounds vivid and natural. You feel like you are right there in the middle of the concert. You feel like you are listening it while it is being played. You don't feel like you are using a headphone anymore. They have a magical transparency to them. And I do think that they are enjoyable as a headphone. They provide me with an enjoyable experience. Of course, you might not be able to drive them if you go outdoors. They are quite hard to drive. I mean, very hard to drive. I have my Cyrus One cast sitting at about 1 to 3 o'clock to properly drive them and to give them enough volume and enough juice. And most portables aren't really able to drive them. Like, you could use a lot of OS 2, but it is going to be less interesting than using a high-bass DX320. Also, you will need balanced cables, especially if you have something like Astel & Kern SA180 or Astel & Kern CP2000T, then you are going to need a balanced cable because most of those portables have more juice, more power, more dynamics, and more impact over the balanced connector. Generally speaking, if you came to me and if you asked me what is the best headphone you could grab for $2,000, well, it is the HIFIMAN HE1000 version 2. It is better than HIFIMAN Araya Stealth. It is considerably better than it in everything that it can do. It is better than most other headphones around this price point. There isn't something at this price point that I could recommend better. At $3,000, it would be a bit harder to recommend them, especially if you don't have a strong source and if you aren't quite sure what taste you have. But if you like a holographic, wide sounding headphone, if you enjoy an impactful sound. And if you want the best instrument separation you can get, then the HIFIMAN HE1000 version 2 should be it. This is the headphone to get, the headphone of your dreams. I would like to emphasize that especially when pitted against the Sennheiser HD800S, you can hear why HIFIMAN is doing better in sales. Those have better resolution, better micro detail, better impact, and just better clarity in general. The HD800S is just much less interesting. It doesn't quite surprise you. That one has a very unnatural sound with less bass and much less detail. I would say that the HD800S is barely at the level of HIFIMAN Rare Stealth. Compared to those are much more transparent and much more natural. Also, the tonality is very spot on. Although I keep mentioning that they have a bit of brightness, it is about the tonal balance, but the mid-range tonality is perfect. You can hear every single bit of detail, you can hear voices sounding natural, you can hear every single instrument sounding natural. Everything is just as it should be. Hope that this video has been enjoyable to watch. I hope you'll consider returning to Audiophile Heaven for more advice, for more content. I hope if you get those, you'll use one of the Amazon links in the video description. I also have a PayPal link if you want to donate something, help me make better videos. I thank you so much for watching. You are the star for being with me today. And don't forget, write a comment if you have questions, write a comment if you have advice on how I can improve my videos. And thank you, and I hope to see you really, really soon. Bye bye.